Hello everyone. So on Saturday, this is now Monday, but on Saturday I made a video talking about all the feral talent tree changes, took you through the whole tree, where everything's positioned, what everything does, and some cool interactions that will probably occur, and some general thoughts on it, some couple positives, couple negatives. I'm going to be doing a separate video where I fully discuss the positives and fully discuss the negatives. That'll be releasing tomorrow, so Tuesday. But right now what I wanted to do is highlight some different build options that we will have. And this is not an exhaustive list. This is just going to be a couple things, you know, a single target build, a mass AOE build, a cleave build. This isn't going to be extremely exhaustive. There is still going to be builds out there that people will come up with and stuff, which I'm excited to see. But I wanted to make this video because it helps tomorrow's video, because we get to see the flaws with these builds in some parts, but we also get to see what really works well when we also talk about some of the positives tomorrow. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump straight into this one. I will just say, check out my Twitch. I'm going to be live today, twitch.tv/Psybear_TV. I'll be talking about stuff. I'll be playing some retail, maybe even a little bit of Wrath as well. So come check me out. All right, so jumping into the Talent Tree Manager. Got a couple builds here on the right-hand side. I've got Mass AOE, 2 to 5 target Cleave, Pure Single Target 1, Pure Single Target 2, Combo Point Generator build, where you're basically just emphasizing your Combo Point Generators rather than your, like, finishes. And then Incon. So trying to make an Incon build work. So, all of this stuff is going to come down to number tuning. When you really get to the nitty-gritty, right? When you really get down to the purity of it. But for now, this is my mass AoE build. As you can see, I've got things like Berserk and Frenzy Band. I've got Convoke, Apex, Circle. All of these things which are going to be trying to emphasize our bleeds. Also grabbing the haste and additional energy from Tireless Energy here. The haste is going to help our tick rate of our rip. Because we're trying to play around these 4-second rip windows, right? We have Tear Open Wounds, which you're getting that 4-second immediate damage. You're also getting, when you're Ferocious Biting, the first 4 seconds of that bleed is then going to be even stronger. So, or well, the next 4 seconds of that bleed, I should say. So any active rips are all going to be ticking for 20% more damage. Plus then you have default rip damage increase. So this build is very much get Primal Wrath running, and then your Apex procs are going to be proccing more often from Circle of Life and Death. These Apex procs are going to be proccing your Sabertooth, which will be doing a big chunk of Ferocious Bite damage, but also, and with Ferocious Frenzy as well, right? 20% damage on everything whenever you get in these Apex procs, and everything is just ticking for these 25% damage on Ferocious Bite, which is pretty big. Because you're also getting just the... Oh, no, okay, yeah. But that's going to be pretty big. And then, also playing around these Tear Open Wound windows where you got Primal Wrath consumes up to 4 seconds of your bleed. So you're going to be playing around trying to get your tick rate increased so that you know, probably playing around a haste mastery kind of angle where your haste is going to increase the amount of rip ticks that are going to occur. You're hoping for that. If you can get an extra tick, like, there might be a point where we go X amount of haste, and the reason we go X amount of haste is because we get a third rip tick in that 4-second window. So that might be a thing that we end up doing, but this is kind of the build. You have a couple options now. Some people are thinking that this is going to be a 1-minute Convoke. I'm not currently convinced at the moment, but we'll see. Because if it reduces the duration of Convoke down to 3 seconds, not 4 seconds, then you would assume it would also reduce the cooldown to 1 minute, not 2 minutes. But if you don't take that, let's imagine that you don't take this Convoke for some reason. You have a couple options. You can go Adaptive Swarm to increase single target damage instead. You can go Blood Talons or Bite Force to increase your AoE rip damage, which would be really strong. But 1-minute Convoke is really good in this build if you can get 1-minute Convoke, because Convoke is obviously going to be doing bites and also rake spreading. And when you rake, it spreads to a second target. So in Mass AoE, if you Convoke and you rake 3 times, you've actually raked 6 times, which just increases the value of Convoke massively. And also, if you get any Ferocious Bites, you're going to be doing AoE damage with those Ferocious Bites. So Convoke with this AoE build is incredible. But then you have the idea of, like, buffing your Blood Talons and stuff as well, which is also really good. Or Bite Force if you don't want to play with Blood Talons. You can also go MOC if you just want, like, a, you know, another angle if your energy is lacking and anything like that, sure. Or you can go Infected Wounds. Infected Wounds will be pretty good when your tank is setting up with the big AoE pulls and you can kind of move around and you can start raking everything. which is good. You can also go reduce Frenzy Band or reduce your Berserk by a bit. You might want to do that depending on Convoke timing. We'll see. So that's my mass AoE build. That's what you're going for. Big primal mass, big bites. Next we have a 2 to 5 target cleave. So this is going to definitely emphasize more so your rake damage. This is where you want to try and be pulling more of that. So you can see we've taken sudden ambush just to get the proc chance, increasing our like rake and shred damage. We're also getting pouncing strikes in this build because you're going to get the extra damage, which is going to probably be 60%, which is what it currently is, and the extra, you know, the third combo point, or well, the second combo point when they do damage, but a third combo point if they crit. And this will be applying to shred and rake now, which is really quite good because you can like rake finisher, rake finisher, and things are getting bled up very quickly. And you know, with 2 rakes, you've already bled up every target more or less. So that's quite good. Still got Convoke, because Convoke is just generally going to be really, really strong. You got to think in your head, why are you only pulling 2 to 5 mobs? Because these mobs probably really, really hurt. So if you're playing a Cleave build, things like prio target damage is going to be quite good, because there's probably a reason why you're not pulling that many mobs. Particularly if it's only 2 mobs, right? Think of in the other side, the 2 mobs before the Mechagon Wing, the big skeletons. If you've got like a nice rake Convoke build going on here, it's going to be quite good against those things. We also have Berserks, every single Berserk here, because again, rake spreading and like shredding and stuff in general is going to be pretty good, but also your Frenzy Band, going to be doing some decent AoE. Grabbing Circle, but not grabbing Apex, because Apex you more so care about in big AoE. Any deviations from this build? I guess you could get rid of Rip and Tear, and you could go Infected Wounds instead, depending on the damage. If the Rip bleed damage applied isn't able to outcompete 20% rake damage on every single mob, then you probably go Infected Wounds instead of that. You can also grab Lunar Inspiration as well, so you can take that out. You can go Infected Wounds, you can go Lunar Inspiration. Oh, no, sorry, you couldn't, because you need a second Sun Damage point, in which case, never mind. But there's, I don't know, Adaptive Swarm, you can grab that again. But you probably go Rip and Tear. That's your 2 to 5 target cleave, big. Now we have a pure single target, and we have a single target second, right? We have a second single target option. And this is where the build starts to break down a little bit for Feral Druid. This is where I actually kind of have a couple negatives. There are only 2 single target builds. It's this or that. And I'm just jumping between them so that you can constantly see what's changing. It's 4 things that are changing, okay? So let's start with the first single target build. So you're going to be static down here pretty much. Except the only thing that can change is you can change, like, instead of Frenzy, you can go Adaptive Swarm. Or you can go a Curio. But you're choosing between one of these 2. Or you get Frenzy, and then you choose between Circle and Adaptive. But, like, you're picking one of these or this. And you're just alternating between. But you're grabbing, like, Lunar Inspiration, you're grabbing... Let me see what's different. Yeah, you're grabbing Lunar Inspiration, you're grabbing, like, the crit chance, you're grabbing your Protective Growth. This is like, hey, we're progressing a Mythic boss, and I want to have additional defensives and stuff. And, yeah, just, like, pure single target here with Frenzy, with Luna, with your Convoke. Should all be pretty nice. Now, the second build, you're actually emphasizing your rake damage. This basically is going to be... is 20% increased rake damage plus 6%, or sorry, 3% additional Ferocious Bite damage per bleed. So roughly what? You've got your rake, you've got your rip, you've got your thrash, right? Plus you've got Feral Frenzy at times, so your 4 bleeds, which is going to be between 9-12% damage increase. So is a flat damage increase on your bite plus 20% rake damage going to be better than, and an additional 5-second Tiger's Fury, going to be better than Lunar Inspiration and 4% crit. And MOC, sorry. Yeah, that's the difference as well. Because that's what you'd be weighing up, basically. And that would be a sim job, but also a playstyle thing. If you prefer bigger bites, if you prefer not playing with Lunar Inspiration, sure. The only problem with this build is that you have to take 2 pretty, like, kind of like AoE talents. Predator does have some single target value, increases Tiger Fury by 5 seconds. And when you play with Raging Fury, that actually makes it stronger. But you have to take Primal Wrath to get it, so a little bit stinky. there's not really any alternative. Like, you don't want to come further right-hand side of this tree because you don't want to have to, like, there's no point getting AoE bite. I don't know, like, I just don't think it's worth investing that heavily down the right-hand side of this tree and losing some bottom traits, right? Because you'd have to sacrifice, like, Frenzy Band or, like, I mean, you can't even get rid of Lunar Inspiration at the moment with the way I've done this build, but you'd have to invest very heavily into the right-hand side, and you'd lose things like Raging Fury, Lunar Inspiration, you'd lose Blood Talons, you'd lose Feral Frenzy, Carnivorous, like, you'd lose these things to maybe get Apex or, like, Brutal Slash. Not worth. But I can definitely see you deviating down here to get this. Right, next we have a combo point generator build. This is something that was just, like, more of an experiment of can we do it? Can we make a build where you're emphasizing your combo point generators more so than your finishers? In theory, yes, but you would be sacrificing stuff with this build. Like, you're not taking AoE talents, right? You're not taking Sabertooth, Dreadful, or Tear Open Wound. You're grabbing Vein Ripper instead of Rip and Tear. So, like, you're making sacrifices to put this build together. But you're getting Lunar Inspiration. That's a common point generator. You're going to get your, like, your Berserks here. We have build a Berserk with your Frenzy Band. Frenzy Band is going to increase the damage of your combo point generators, right? And emphasize wanting to take them. You're also going to get reduction on your Berserk in order to make that happen. You're going to take things like Wild Slashes to make your generators stronger. You're going to take Circle so that your bleeds are ticking quicker. Curio so you can be casting more. Double Rake so you can be spreading. Infected so you can do more damage. Take the extra Pouncing Strikes. So you're very much emphasizing Sudden Ambush, right? You're very much emphasizing your combo point generators, because an important thing with the blue post that Blizzard made is they spoke about how they want choice and identity, and they want you to be able to choose things of, like, how you manage your energy, whether you're, like, how strong are your combo point generators, how strong are your bleeds, those are the and how strong are your cooldowns, your Berserk and your Convoke. Like, they want you to... And your Tiger's Fury as well, right? Because there's quite a few Tiger Fury traits here on this tree. But these are the things that they want to emphasize you trying to do. So if realistically, if you could put a build like this together, then that just plays more into what the blue post is saying and the direction that Blizzard want to have. And lastly, we have like an Incon build, okay? So this Incon build, as in the name, is trying to emphasize Incon. Now, the way it works is you're basically going to run modal cooldown bonus, which gives you a chance on your auto attacks to proc Incon for 6 seconds. Now, if you proc it, it's going to proc your Frenzy Band for 6 seconds, which is going to emphasize your combo point generators, which is good. So you've got some combo point generator stuff. Still got your Double Rake and your Infected Wounds and Wild Slash, right? So those good things. But you also have the cooldown reduction Heart of the Lion to get your Frenzy Band to occur more often, so that you can get your Berserk more often, and then you proc your Incon between that anyway. And when you're proccing these things, you're just going to get more... Like, you're playing around Frenzy Band and Incon. Incon is also going to extend your Frenzy Band by an additional 10 seconds. So you should just have, like, really high Frenzy Band, or, like, you know, Incon uptime, which just means you have really high Frenzy Band bleed. And you'd probably be playing, like, a crit mastery build. Is what I would imagine you would want to run. Quite a cool idea. I like the idea of going it. I don't think there's really anything that you can substitute. I mean, you can take out Heart of the Lion and get something like MOC or Tireless Energy. Don't really think that's worth. You could grab Apex instead as well, which is cool, but you're trying to play around your common point generators during this Incon. You could also grab... Can I grab... Yeah, so you could grab Vein Ripper as well, actually. This actually makes that build a little bit better. Or you could grab Circle. You go Circle, or you could go like Vein Ripper, Rip and Tear, something like that. But it's a build that's quite similar to the combo point generator build, but not quite 100% exact. But I like the idea of a build like this. It's quite cool. I like the idea of playing it. Now, of course, with all these builds, whether you play an Incon build, even on single target, like this could be a BIS single target build. Doubt it, but it could be. Combo point generator build, again, will probably be like decent, but not BIS. But for me, it's not, like, all of this choice in builds is not about a BIS build. Because there's always going to be a BIS build. And if all you care about is finding out the BIS build, and you don't give a shit about any other options, you just care about a BIS build, then whatever. It doesn't, whatever. You're just gonna take anything. So I don't really care about that kind of viewpoint. I'm also thinking, like, do we have variation? Can we play different styles? Can we play a more complex and less complex? Can we invest in areas that we enjoy about Feral Druid? Say you are really big on Incon. Cool, can you make it work? It's just about being able to make it work. And we can get quite a couple, you know, decent variations right now going on with these builds. But let me know in the comments if you got your own builds, if you like these builds, if you like the variation and stuff. But tomorrow I'm going to be releasing a video on all of the problems with this tree. As you can see with the single target, it is very heavy left side. In fact, you take every single left-hand talent in the single target build, which is a little bit kind of crazy kooky because it reduces the amount of variation. So the single target builds definitely need some work done to them. But yeah, in general, pretty happy with this stuff. And thanks for watching. Make sure you come check me out on Twitch, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.